Shalom, Kor Haloyim, La Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakha Kodash, double honors to the apostles and elder bishops of Great Millstone who rule and teach well. Shalom to you fellow laborers that's out there doing this work in truth and in sincerity, especially during these times. A hearty shalom also to you fellow laborers and believers that are scattered throughout the face of the earth, whether you are among the heathen and like the heathen who are speckled by Israelites. Shalom to the three Akwatim that believe as well. All right, to the whole household of faith, which is the elect, I want to say shalom. All right, back at you with another historical injustice from the racial injustice website, which they produce racial injustice for every day of the calendar year. All right, or calendar day within the year, Shalakia. So this is one from Oklahoma, where a mother and her son, all right, were both lynched before they can receive due process, all right, involving an alleged Edomite officer being shot. Okay, so what is due process? And I actually looked it up. The AI pretty much got this one right. It says due process is a fundamental principle of fairness in legal matters, ensuring that individuals are treated justly and have a fair opportunity to defend their rights, which you so-called Negro, Latino, Native Americans, you don't know what that means. Okay? You don't experience that. Not in Babylon. All right? Really not anywhere on this earth. Okay? Due process does not carry any weight when with regards to us going to courtrooms or going before the judge and the jury, all right, in the trial situation. Okay, I mean, even myself, I've been through it. It says it requires the government to follow specific procedures before depriving someone of life, liberty, or property. Due process is guaranteed by the Fifth and 14th Amendment. The Fifth and 14th Amendments to the U.S. Constitution. So, I mean, I'll read a little more. Due process means that legal procedures must be followed for each individual to ensure no prejudicial or unequal treatment. It ensures that the government doesn't make arbitrary or unfair decisions that affect individuals. It's a crucial safeguard against government overreach and abuse of power. Which is a joke. All right, I mean, I can't count how many times that even to this very day that, especially you so-called Negroes in the tribe of Judah or tents of Judah, all right, and even the rest of you tribes too, Latin tribes, all right, Native tribes, whatever. How many times you're locked up, even decades, even, and you're let out. You didn't even commit a crime or whatever, But that show you that you don't have a due process. Okay, so let's get into the article. It says a mob enters the county jail last night and take two Negro prisoners whom they hanged from a bridge, which, if you don't know, which the whole world knows by now, all right, the so-called Negro, all right, is the tribe of Judah, all right, of the 12 tribes of the nation of Israel. All right, in fact, they're the head tribe. All right, a lot of these atrocities that are publicly made involving Judah is because they especially take out their anger on Judah. All right, now they take out their anger on the rest of the tribes as well, but not like Judah. All right, Judah being the head tribe, and they know the history of Judah during the Dark Ages. Okay, when Judah had their ass in captivity, which they were made to serve. All right, Jacob. So they do extra things to Judah. Okay, so the rest of you tribes that look down on Judah, all right, of the northern tribes, really Judah took on the harshest part of slavery for the nation. Okay. I mean, Judah been beaten down so much to the fact that the scriptures say that he's an old lion that's couched, right? And who shall rouse him up? That's how docile and how much they've beaten Judah down, So let's get into the article a little bit. It says, on May 24th, 1911, shortly before midnight, a mob of dozens of armed Edomite men, because that's what they really are. Edom, the so-called white man, he's Esau, Edom in the Bible. All right, the main adversary or rival of Jacob. Okay, though they were, fraternal twins. All right, they were both born through the loins of Isaac and from the womb of Rebekah. All right, they were two different nations and two different manners of people. All right. It says dozens of armed Edomite men broke into the Okfuski County Jail in Okemah, Oklahoma, and abducted Laura Nelson and her young son LD. The mob took the woman and boy 6 miles away and hanged them from a bridge over the Canadian River, close to the town's Black or Jewite neighborhood. According to some reports, members of the mob also raped Mrs. Nelson, who was about 28 years old, according to census records, before lynching her alongside her son. Their bodies were found the next morning. So they not only that, they ravished Mrs. Nelson. Okay, this is a normal thing in America. All right, this was actually normal in America, man. People don't understand or realize that these things happen on the daily. Okay. A few weeks before, local police had reportedly come to the Nelson's cabin and accused Mr. Nelson of stealing meat. All right, which is crazy. When the white, and you're not supposed to murder a man. You're not supposed to murder a man, even if he did steal some food. Okay, you don't murder a man for stealing food. You simply, matter of fact, I'll get the scripture on it, man. That's some bullshit. This is Proverbs. It says, let's see. Proverbs 6:30. It says, men do not despise a thief if he steals to satisfy his soul when he is hungry. Right. And let's say Mr. Nelson did steal it. You don't despise him for it. Okay? You don't hate him for it. I mean, he's stealing because he's hungry, obviously. All right, verse 31. But if he be found, he shall restore sevenfold. He shall give all the substance of his house. So basically just restoring, all right, what he stole. Okay, you don't murder him or lock a man up, saying, taking from his family, his wife and kids. All right. That's that's 40 the affliction, man. All right, pretty much. It says back in the article, it says Nelson's cabin, sorry, when a white deputy sheriff, which is the Edomite, was shot and killed while searching the cabin, Mrs. Nelson and LD, who was reported as 14 and 16 years old in the news, but was more likely just 12 years old according to census records, were accused of killing him. See? And this show you that that married couples were young back then. You didn't get married old like today. But that's another topic for another day. It says the entire Nelson family was arrested in jail after the deputy shooting, and some reports indicate that a 2-year-old daughter listed as Carrie Nelson in the 1910 census was also with Mrs. Nelson in jail. Yeah, you're not supposed to, as far as having the census, you're not supposed to count the people. That's wicked in itself. All right. Even King David, when he did it, they brought evil upon us. Okay. Show you how Esau is just, the man of sin, man. Just a man of wickedness, man. But let's continue. All right. So they even brought her 2-year-old or their 2-year-old daughter, all right, to jail with the mother. All right. So even a 2-year-old, all right, had to go to jail. That's crazy. It says the prosecution's presentation at the preliminary hearing raised doubts about whether the state had sufficient evidence for a conviction. Many so-called black people were lynched across the U.S. under accusations of murder and assault. During this era of racial terror, mere suggestions of black on white violence could provoke mob violence and lynching. And they was always ready to, do that to Jake anyway, man. All right. This was good old fun back in the day. Terrorizing. See, the real domestic terrorists, all right, are the so-called white men. All right, you Edomite men. Okay? You're the real terrorist, man. Matter of fact, you're the Earth's terrorist, man. The so-called white man is the Earth terrorist, man. And there's proof of that. Look how he goes around terrorizing the nations, man. All right? By using his sword. Okay? All these interventions. Okay? Anyways, though these communities had developed and functioning judicial systems, Edomite defendants were more likely to face trial, while Israelite black, or so-called black people, Judite, right? Judah people were regularly suffered death at the hands of a violent mob without trial or any opportunity to present evidence of innocence or self-defense. In this case, because this Edomite cop, he more than likely was about to shoot Mr. Nelson, her husband, this Jake, and he more likely defended himself, right? And they show you in these old movies how Jake was treated, Shit, even in Harlem Nights is a comedy movie, but they show you how Jake was treated, It says, in this case, after Laura and L.D. Nelson were lynched, it was revealed that they claimed to have shot the deputy as he reached for his gun and seemed about to shoot Mr. Nelson unprovoked. See? It always comes out in the end, Before any trial could take place, however, newspapers accounts, and remember, they didn't even, the evidence, they didn't even have, they didn't present evidence or anything, or wasn't able to present evidence to defend themselves, okay? Which again, that's due process, right? It says before any trial could take place, however, newspaper accounts sensationalized the case, misreporting the mother and son's ages and presuming their guilt. And that's another way that the so-called white man, all right, he will use his media, okay? The bitter words, right? Let's get that. The bitter words to destroy your character, to justify him doing something wicked to you. Psalm 64. And I'll start at 2 and read it 3, right? Excuse me. Hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked, from the insurrection of the workers of iniquity, who whet their tongue like a sword and bend their bows to shoot their arrows, even bitter words, right? So their tongue is like, or their mouth is like a sword, because why? They used the media back in this day, the newspaper, right? The newspaper accounts. That's how the media was spread, okay, back then. which is a paper form of media, you know. And this is how they would demonize you back then to justify them doing some wicked thing to you, right? So they use their tongue like a sword, and bend, you know what I'm saying? And it says and bend their bows to shoot their arrows, even bitter words. The bitter words are accusing you, all right, of things you don't even do. That's why they're known as what? The accuser of thy brethren. All right. Revelation 12 and 10, it says, and I heard a loud voice from heaven saying, now is come salvation and strength and the kingdom of our power and the power of his anointed. For the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before our power day and night. All right, which is who? Esau. Okay. He always accusing Jake of something, and then you're gonna come to find out Jake didn't even do it. You know? So, let's get down to the nitty-gritty. Okay. I'm gonna finish this up. You can read this on your own time. I encourage you brothers to read these articles. It's good articles to do history lessons on. After the black boy reportedly found Laura Nelson's and LD's Nelson's hanging corpses at the bridge the next morning, hundreds of Edomite people from Okima came to view the bodies. Some even posed on the bridge to have their photos taken with the bodies of the dead Judite woman and boy. See, it was good old fun. Those photographs were later reprinted as postcards and sold at novelty stores. See? Like I said, this was just good old fun. All right, this was just good old fun. They don't even want to show you the bodies of them hanging. You know? Because, let me see if I can find something. See, they want to show you this part. You know? Which, again, this is Esau greatly offending. All right, greatly offended, man. They ravished this she was a wife of Mr. Nelson. They ravished her, man, before even lynching and hanging her, man. All right, unjustly. They haven't even been found guilty of a crime. And this is Esau taking vengeance and greatly offending, all right, by putting his hands on the Lord's people, man, in particular Judah. All right, as Ezekiel 25 and 12 want to tell you, right? Thus said the Lord power, because that Edom had dealt against the house of Judah. Yeah, Judah's the so-called Negro. All right, it's not written that Judah mourneth, right? Jeremiah 14:2, Judah mourneth, and the gates thereof language. They are black unto the ground, right? They resemble the ground, and the cry of Jerusalem is going up. Where's Jerusalem? In the land of Israel. See? And they know, man. They know that the tribe of Judah is the real Jew. And then what they do is, they'll look over that fact, call them Negro, black, all these derogatory terms. All right, but the scriptures say that the tribe of Judah is so-called black. Okay, I mean what? They're let's look at the word black. Okay, let's look it up. See that Qadar. All right, the Hebrew word there is Qadar, which means what? To be darkened. All right, it's talking about what? The skin. See? You go to the Hebrew lexicon. Says to be of a dirty blackish color, as of sunburnt skin. Which that's Song of Solomon 1 and 5 and 6. All right, he says I'm black but comely, right? Because what the sun do, it makes you darker. See, when you have hue or brown pigment, when you're in the sun, it makes you darker. It says of burnt skin to be darkened, right, as the day the sun, right. So that's what it's talking about. Not talking about actual being in the morning, but even though they were in mourning at that time, the word black refers to their skin complexion, meaning when they were dark. Okay. So it says back in Ezekiel 25, thus said the Lord power, because that Edom had dealt against the house of Judah by taking vengeance and had greatly offended and revenged himself upon them. Right? How? By, setting up these different scenarios where you can accuse them of these different crimes that they wouldn't commit, but it was portrayed as though they committed it. Right? Before they even had the a due process. All right. They was basically guilty just because of the accusation. And back then, if you was a so-called Negro accused of anything, you're automatically guilty. So the law, all right, the Fifth and 14th Amendment, which the Constitution don't have anything to do with you so-called Negroes, because you was only recognized as 3/5 of a man. See, they hate when you mention that. So you wouldn't even consider a whole man. Okay. Let's continue though. 13, it says, therefore, thus said the Lord power, I will also stretch out my hand upon Edom, the so-called white people. All right. Beginning with your small hats on down. All right. And will cut off man and beast from it. And I will make it desolate from Teman, and they of Dedan shall fall by the sword. Right. Because the Lord is going to repay. All right. He's going to repay vengeance upon you. That's why scripture say what? Vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. Okay. Verse 14, and I will lay my vengeance upon Edom by the hand of my people Israel. All right. And that starts with Judah, man. The head tribe, the same ones you always find the way to persecute and lie on them. All right. More than the rest of the tribes, knowing that they're the head tribe. It says, and they shall do in Edom according to mine anger and according to my fury. And they shall know my vengeance, saith the Lord power, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. See? And that's what Esau is afraid of. But you have done great evil, all right, by revenging yourself upon Judah, all right, and the rest of the tribes. Okay? See, everything that Esau is going to be brought to justice for, okay, it's going to be pretty much everything going to be brought to justice for is going to be well deserved. Okay. Well deserved. I mean, the history itself, goes into why, saying the justice that we're going to get, all right, from Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, because that's how we're going to get justice. All right, from the Heavenly Father through his Son. Okay. But when we got him in the kingdom, he's going to repay for all his crimes. Okay. Zechariah 11:5, whose possessions slay them and hold themselves not guilty. Right. These devils knew that the sheriff, more than likely went into there 10 times out of 10. He went in there, and the anger that was in his mind, right, caused him to be about to shoot Mr. Nelson. You don't have to be there to know exactly what happened. Just knowing how atrocious Esau would treat Jake, all right, as a whole, especially Judah. Yeah, you can just pretty much put everything together. Put 2 and 2 together, as Jake could say. Right? But the fact that they would even do that show you that they kept their anger forever, like it says in Amos 1. All right. Matter of fact, that's the reason why Mr., Mrs., and their children didn't receive any justice, because that's a way of showing you that they kept a wrath forever. Let's get that real quick. Amos 1:11, it says, "Thus said the Lord, for 3 transgressions of Edom, and for 4, I would not turn away the punishment thereof." Right, the punishment that's coming for Edom, all right, which will be 1,000 years of slavery. Okay, he's gonna surely drink, all right, that cup, like it says in Jeremiah 49. "Art thou he that shall altogether go unpunished? Thou shalt not go unpunished, but thou shalt surely drink of it." Right? Because why? Our judgment was who's not to drink of that cup have surely drunken. Us Israelites, man. And this motherfucker double Esau, man, he's done the most. All right, to Jake. Because he did pursue his brother with the sword. And of course he was about to shoot Mr. Nelson. So if that sheriff had ended up being taken out, it's because he was more likely finna do something to Mr. Nelson. Guarantee you. Because he did pursue his brother with the sword and did cast off all pity. Because, like, if he pitied him, he would say, "Well, you stole this, Mr. Nelson. Well, pay back the money that's owed, all right, for the meat that you've taken or stolen to feed yourself and your family." Right? That's all he had to do. But no, it's a, hey nigga, you stole this. You got any goddamn sense than to steal a white man's meat? That's how they talked to Jake back in the day. You must be a crazy nigger. You must want to be a dead nigger. I guarantee he was saying all kind of shit like that. And they don't like that. Because that's the truth. So you so-called white people, you Edomites, man, you don't like that because that's the truth. Okay? Saying, because he did pursue his brother with the sword and did cast off all pity, and his anger did tear perpetually, and he kept his wrath forever. Okay? And that show you right there that he kept his wrath forever, man. His anger was just eating him up inside him. He had to do something, Mr. Nelson. And before you could, Mr. Nelson took his ass out. That's what happened. He defended himself. But if you're Israelite, you can't defend yourself. You gotta lay down and take that shit. Okay? So it says back in Zechariah 11:5, "Whose possessors slay them and hold themselves not guilty, and they that sell them say, Blessed be the Lord, for I am rich, and their own shepherds pity them not." And that's pretty much the average day in America for an Israelite, especially the Judites, man. Okay. But hey, weep not, because your justice is coming. See, all the history of atrocities that's been done to our nation, being with the so-called Negro, the tribe of Judah, it's all going to be accounted for in the kingdom of heaven. Again, this is how we get justice, man. All right, this is how we're going to get justice, through Yahweh Shai, man. That's why even today, those of us that know this truth, like it says in Isaiah 32, the captive exile, in fact, I'll get it real quick. Where is that at? Is that, it speaks about the captive exile. Let's see, bear me 1 second. Let me type it in. Isaiah 51, Shalakia. Isaiah 51:14, "The captive exile hasteneth that he may be loosed, and that he should not die in the pit. nor that his bread should fail. See? And this is what we, all right, are hastening. That Yahweh Shai, which is our Redeemer, all right, is going to redeem us, all right, in due time, hopefully soon. Because we need to get, liberated from these devils, man. Because under their hands we suffer, all right. And the Lord said, what? The punishment of our iniquity is accomplished, man. But yet we still have to wait upon the Lord. Okay, we have to patiently wait upon the Lord, because remember that the Lord is long suffering as well. All right, but He's going to repay these devils for everything they've done. All right, and that's something that we know that it's going to come. When I say we that believe, all right, we that are of the household of faith, man. We know that these things, as far as justice is going to come for us. All right, we're going to get true justice, but we have to wait. Okay, wait upon the Lord, because we're almost there, man. We're almost there. So with that, hey, Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. I'm gonna give all honor, glory, and praises to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rachakwadash. Hey, shalom to the Lord's elect. And Lord willing, I'll see you next video. Till next time, shalom.